Hey, this is Stu with Storehouse 310 Ventures, and I am going to go over a new strategy. It's actually a new tax um, law that came into effect, and it's called opportunity zones. And this is huge for us, for Storehouse in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It just happened to be that there are some opportunity zones in the areas of Milwaukee where we're investing. And so I want to kind of go over this opportunity and why I think it's such a great time to get in and use this strategy. I've done a lot of research and learning about this, and I would say one of the best sources for education on this is from the Real Wealth Network. Kathy Fettke is a professional investor. They do it full time, and they have investments all over the U.S. and all over the world, actually. And they provide free education all the time and do all kinds of webinars and blogs, and so I take a lot of this information from them. So this is basically just a copy and paste from one of their recent webinars about opportunity zones. So if you don't know what it is, basically it is a new rule that came in effect for taxes, and it's for investors who have capital gains. The rule is you can take the capital gains that you made from another investment after you've sold it and put those capital gains into an investment inside of an opportunity zone. And opportunity zones we'll show you in a minute of each state designated opportunity zones where they want to bring investors in and revitalize an area. So you take the capital gains, and then any of those capital gains are deferred. So you basically aren't paying taxes on those capital gains. And if you hold that investment for 5 to 7 years, it'll be reduced by 10%. If you hold it over 7 years, it reduces by 15%. And if you hold it for over 10 years, you will not have any gain on the sale of your qualified opportunity fund. So there are lots of rules involved with doing this, and really per the U.S. Treasury Department, there are kind of two main ways of investing, and this goes over option one here. So first, you have to create what's called a qualified opportunity fund, a QOF, and it has to be through an entity, and it has to be recognized by the IRS when you file your taxes. So one way is for to invest into a fund, if you will, that is managed by someone else. So this is being done by the Real Wealth Network. Kathy Fettke, they've created a qualified opportunity fund, and they're doing a syndication. They're raising money. You can invest passively into a QOF, and then the QOF goes and purchases real estate within those opportunity zones, and you, as a part of the fund, will get the benefit from it. So it's professionally managed. However, you don't really have as much control over it. You just sit back and invest passively. Option two is you do it yourself. And Kathy Fettke and the Real Wealth Network are recommending that you still use the Real Wealth Network to find the deal, the real estate, and maybe even use their rehab team to get the property and revitalize it. But basically, you would be creating your own qualified fund, and within that fund, going and purchasing real estate on your own, rehabbing the real estate, and then holding it within your own entity, just solely. So again, there's tons of rules involved with qualifying for an opportunity zone investment and meeting those tax deferred options. And one of them that kind of is a challenge for us at Storehouse 310 is that you have to make substantial improvement. And if you get into the code a little more, basically you have to increase the value by at least 100%. So what does that mean? In layman's terms, if you're buying a house for $50,000, means you have to put at least $50,001 into the rehab. So you have to have a renovation budget of over what you purchased the property for. So a lot of people are looking at just buying vacant land and then building on top of the vacant land. So basically you're increasing the value of the land by putting a structure on it. Where we're investing, we're buying houses that need a lot of work, but finding a house that needs, more than what we purchased it for is a challenge for us. So that's one of the major rules that you have to follow to qualify for an investment inside of an opportunity zone. Is basically you have to find a really, really bad house and put a lot of work into it. And we're just not finding those as much in our area where we're investing. So here's kind of a main website where you can go and find a lot of information about opportunity zones and kind of read on it yourself. It's a website that's created from the Department of Treasury. It's called Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, and it goes really into a lot of the guidelines of opportunity zones. One of the links on there it'll take you to is basically a finder of opportunity zones. It's a interactive map, and you can enter in an address or enter in a zip code, and it will zone in on that area, and it will show you if you're within an opportunity zone that was designated by the state. So here is in a zone in of Milwaukee. And as you'll see, there's lots of different zones here that have been qualified. The dark green are the qualified opportunity zones in Milwaukee. We'll focus in a little bit more, and I'll show you in a sec the zip codes. But these qualified zones right here, this one right here, and this one right here are very close to where we are buying our properties. So our two primary zip codes that we're investing in are 53218 and 53209. And we did buy a property in 53216 just recently. And you'll see that here's a very rough overlay of where the opportunity zones are. But you'll see the opportunity zone, there's a lot in 53218, and there's quite a bit in the southern portion of 53209. So what does all this mean? Recently, Realist Network came out, Kathy Fettke came out with her 2019 housing predictions, and it's about an hour and a half long, and I highly recommend watching it. I think you can just find it on YouTube if you just search for Kathy Fettke 2019 housing predictions. And she goes into a lot of data, a lot of graphs, a lot of charts, but essentially, she's not really expecting for a crash to happen, but she is expecting for it to slow down. She's not expecting to see the amount of growth that we've seen. Housing prices are getting significantly higher. Mortgage rates are starting to slowly rise, and there's a lot of areas in the country that are starting to become unaffordable. So what that means is there's going to be continuing to be a lot of renters. So it is a good time to own rental real estate because there are a lot of renters out there, especially in the millennial generation, that they're not ready to buy that big expensive house yet, and they're just choosing to rent. But one thing that she focused on a lot was these opportunity zones. The Real Worth Network, they are a group of professional investors, and they do this full time for a living, and they do a lot of research, a lot of data pulling, and they really think that the opportunity zones are a huge. It's going to be a huge portion of their investing in 2019 because of the tax benefits and all the breaks that you can get from it. And so anyone that is really interested in reducing their taxes, i.e., wealthy investors, are going to look into these opportunity zones. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth in these areas. So, like we talked about already, the ways that you can invest in an opportunity zone are: one, you invest into a managed fund. Two, you can create your own fund and just solely acquire and rehab properties in the opportunity zones, with the caveat that you have to make sure that you're increasing the value by over 100%. Or three, what Storehouse 310 has decided to do is really just invest around opportunity zones. And what that does for us is, it doesn't, we don't have to qualify for the opportunity zone investment. And granted, we don't get the primary tax benefit that is so beneficial, but what we have already kind of started to see is that opportunity zones are going to bring more money and more investors to that area. And when that happens, the value of property is going to increase significantly. So we are investing in those areas, and we're getting the same benefits to our cash flow. So they're still great rental properties, but what we are already starting to see is that there is a higher chance of growth and opportunity to increase in equity for this market, and because of the investor influx that's buying up property in these opportunity zones. So in summary, what Storehouse 310 is doing is we are buying around opportunity zones. Some of the houses are actually in the opportunity zones, but we aren't going through the full process of qualifying as a fund right now. We might be able to do that in the future, but what that is doing for us is providing an opportunity for growth in the market where we're investing. And I think it would be a very beneficial time to buy property, with Storehouse 310, to capitalize on the equity growth and still positive cash flow in a growing market. So that's it for this presentation. We have our website up and running. It's storehouse310turnkey.com. We will post new properties on there whenever they become available. And go to it, check it out. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we have a YouTube page. Go and follow and like all of them. And we can't wait to invest with you. Thanks. Hope this was helpful and educational.